Hey guys, welcome back to MMA Today, and my name is Cash Money, and I'm with Ayub, and we're going to be breaking down the 2023 championship predictions. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with the flyweight division. My first pick for the flyweight division is gonna be Pantoja. I think Pantoja has a really good shot of getting the belt at flyweight because he already has two wins over Brandon Moreno, and I really think that even if Figueroa wins, he's gonna be leaving that division to go up to bantamweight. Ayub, who do you got for this champ?
I also actually have Alejandro Pantoja just because he beat. You made the case like he beat Brendan Moreno twice, and not only if you look at Figueredo right now, he's aging and he's kind of struggling to make that weight.
Yeah.
Even though he had a great performance in 2022 against Brendan Moreno in the trilogy fight, I just see Pantoja. He looked really, really good against Royval, even submitted him.
Oh yeah, he did submit Royval, and he submitted Alex Perez recently too, and he has a win over Manel Cape, who's on a good streak as well. So that's a 3-fight win streak. I think that he should definitely get the title shot, the winner of this quadrilogy, and that he's most likely going to be champ after this year.
Yeah.
All right, next we're gonna go on to the bantamweight division. Now, for my pick, I have Sean O'Malley actually getting that belt. I think that Aljamain Sterling is going to fight Henry Cejudo next. I think that Cejudo will beat Aljamain Sterling, and that would set up maybe a Cejudo versus O'Malley fight, or maybe both of them are out the picture, and we might get O'Malley versus Chito Vera. And I think that Sean O'Malley, he just beat Peter Yan, who's the number one ranked fighter. Clearly, I think that he's the best striker in the division, but he is going to go up against maybe a wrestler. So that's the only thing I'm worried about. But I think that Sean O'Malley is definitely going to take the championship belt in 2023, probably around July.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say Henry Cejudo gets it done and actually beats Aljamain, and then during the end around December-ish, oops, skill set to be champion even today. You can see before he beat Dominic Cruz, and Dominic Cruz is still floating around here. And not only did he beat Dominic Cruz, he beat T.J. Dillashaw, another guy who's just retired recently.
Those are two dominant.
Yeah, those are two big wins. And even though there's been signs of ring rust, we don't know if he'll have any ring rust. It just kind of depends on how he looks against Aljamain. But I think his style counters Aljamain Sterling really bad. He's better on the hands, and he has really good takedown defense. And you've seen that in the Mighty Mouse
gold medal. Like he's arguably the best wrestler on paper. Now I think the only argument against Henry Cejudo is that Aljamain Sterling might be too big for him. Do you think Aljamain is too big for someone like Henry Cejudo, or you think Henry Cejudo can kind of get through that size advantage?
Yeah, I think like lengthwise, Aljamain is just way longer, taller, and everything. But Henry Cejudo, he's a big guy too. Like if you've seen him outside, ever since he retired, he's been putting on some weight and stuff. I think he'll.
So yeah, he's not a small guy, but still, I think that's just going to be a hard matchup for Henry, just because that length. I'm gonna still pick him against Aljamain Sterling, just because I think the skill is going to make up a difference. Aljamain Sterling he's not a good striker. He has a terrible striking style. Whenever he gets hit, he kind of covers up. Doesn't really have any KO power or anything like that. He's mostly just trying to get on your back and then hopefully try to go for submissions. I mean, he is good on the ground. He goes for submissions, but you're going up against a guy who's an Olympic gold medalist wrestler. Like, come on. It's going to be very hard to take down someone who's that small. So let's go ahead and let's go on to featherweight now. Now, my pick might be a little bit controversial, but I think that this guy is arguably the next best thing at featherweight. I'm going to go with Ilia Topuria getting that featherweight title. And the reason for that is I think that he's just on a win streak. He's undefeated, 13-0. We've seen him against different styles. We've seen him fight someone like Chad Herbert, who's strong, who's a lot taller than him, weighs a lot more, and he's a long-rangey striker. He came back from adversity, and I like that. And I seen that. That shows that he has championship mindset. And then also he beat a guy who's Bryce Mitchell, who's arguably the best wrestler in the division. He ended up making him look like light work and beat him and finished him as well. So I think if Ilia Topuria can get the Brian Ortega fight that he's been calling for, that he'd definitely be able to put himself in that top 5. So he'll be close to about championship level. And Arnold Allen also needs a fight coming up. So maybe Topuria could sneak a fight with Arnold Allen and take his streak. And if he beats him, he's going to put himself right up there. So I think there's just a lot of opportunities for Topuria to go up and go up really fast. And that sometime by the end of 2023, he's in that title picture.
Yeah, my pick here is going to be, it's a little surprising, but I'm actually going to go with Josh Emmett. I know he had a very controversial fight against Calvin Kattar.
I think he robbed Calvin Kattar.
People are saying it's a robbery. I say it was a close fight. I scored it for Emmett, kind of edged it out 3-2. But I think Emmett will beat Yair in February in Perth. He's just going to use his wrestling. Yeah, I think he's going to wrestle Yair.
Did he handle those kicks?
I think it's going to be – I think this fight's going to be on the ground. We've seen Yair's takedown defense. It's really not that good. Even Ortega, who really doesn't wrestle, is taking him down. I think Josh Emmett's just going to be a stronger guy, muscle him around for 5 rounds until he gets tired. And Josh Emmett showed great cardio. And another reason why I'm going to say Josh Emmett is Volk never really fought anybody with crazy knockout power. If you see Josh Emmett's power, he was on a 7-fight knockdown streak before the Kattar fight. So he has heavy hands. And we never really seen Volk fight someone with heavy power other than I can't even think of anybody that Volk fought with crazy knockout power.
I would say that Max Holloway, he's a volume striker, and everybody knows that Max Holloway kind of doesn't have that knockout power, so Volk did kind of get away with that. And then also, Ortega's not really known for his stand-up either. He's kind of been a punching bag his last couple of fights where he's lost. And then also, Korean Zombie is kind of over the hill. So that is right. He hasn't faced anybody with power. Honestly, I could see it going Yair's way, though, for Emmett. I think Yair has the skill set to beat someone like Josh Emmett. I think those kicks are going to keep him at range. I think Yair is underrated with his hands as well. I think just Emmett, the only thing about him is that he just has an overhand right. I haven't seen him do anything special. I haven't seen him use any kicks. Hasn't really thrown any crazy combinations. Kind of relies on his power. So, I mean, I don't really see him going through. But if that's your pick, that's your pick. All right, let's go ahead and go on to the next one. We have the lightweight division, probably the best division in the sport right now. And I'm gonna have another controversial pick. I'm gonna go with Arman Tsarukyan. I think that Arman is on a great streak. I mean, he's on a streak technically right now, but I think the Gamrot fight was a robbery. He just beat Damir Ismagulov, who just retired as well. He beat Damir, and I think that he's setting himself up for another big fight in the top 10. So I think that him and Chandler should definitely fight next. I think he has a good chance of beating Michael Chandler. And I think if you get through to someone like Chandler, you probably set yourself up for another big fight. And a lot of these guys, like you see Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, even Chandler, these guys are fighting maybe once a year. I think that if Arman really puts his starts grinding, he's about 25 years old. He can definitely improve and get better as the fights go on. He's already had a main event before underneath his belt, and he had a tough fight with Gamrot, so I think he's only getting better. And if we actually look at who gave Islam the hardest fight, I went back and watched that fight. He gave Islam a tough time. Islam definitely won that fight, but the way that he was rolling with Islam and dealing with that wrestling, and that was his first UFC fight. And Ayub, I don't know, was that on short notice as well? Islam versus Arman?
Yeah, I think it was on short notice if I recall.
Yeah, Arman might have taken that fight on short notice. So you're just thinking about like how much he's improving each time out there. So I think that he definitely is like one of the up and comers and sleeper pick to get that belt.
Yeah, and he's like, and you gotta throw the point out, he's very young. He's like around 26, 27 last time I checked.
Yeah,
and
he's actually 26.
He's just been looking incredible, and I do agree with you on that Gamrot fight. That was a pretty bad robbery. Yeah. I think Arman won round 4, even though they gave it to Gamrot. Doesn't make sense. But
yeah, and think about how his path would have changed if he won that fight. He would have definitely gotten that Beneil fight next, and if he beat Beneil Dariush, he would have been right up there for title shot. So I still think that that he has the opportunity to get up in there, being so young, and if he stays active, he can definitely get that belt.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one, but I think Islam will always be better than Arman. It's just the skill difference. Islam right now, he's not even old himself. He's only like 30, 31 years old. Yeah. And 31. I just think even in that fight, like you could just see, I know it was a while ago, but you could just see Islam clearly just manhandle him, like big brother in him, tossing him around. I think Arman threw a takedown. He just stuffed him, reversed him, just reversed all Arman's takedowns. I just think Islam's going to be Volk this year, and then whoever's next.
You think he fights 3 times this year, or you think he only fights maybe one more after Volk?
I think he's going to fight in this. I think he's going to fight in the summer, and maybe one. I think he's going to fight maybe October again. Abu Dhabi, they have a contract. Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, so it's probably going to set him up for an October fight. So he'd probably fight March, and then maybe he'd fight as well in October. That gives Arman a lot of time, though. It looks like he can maybe get the shot if he stays active. So maybe it's possible.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with that pick, Islam, and that's my pick for lightweight.
All right. And welterweight division. Now, for welterweight, I have another sleeper pick. It's going to be Shavkat. I think Shavkat is really the most well rounded fighter in that division. I know we got Hamza Shamayev, who's a hype train, but I think a lot of people don't notice how well Shavkat has been fighting. He's showed some striking power. He's shown that he has good wrestling, submitted Neil Magny. And Neil Magny arguably was better than Lee, and that was Hamza's other win in the division. And he had a fight with Jeff Neal, and I think that if that fight went the way I thought it was going to go, I think Shavkat would have finished Jeff Neal as well. So that would have been two big finishes. I know he needs a replacement fight, and who knows, maybe that Jeff Neal pull-out might be a blessing in disguise. He might actually get maybe even a top fighter better than him. I think that him versus Bilal Muhammad is on the horizon. I think that the UFC is gonna have to give Bilal another top fighter, and who else is going up there and trying to fight Bilal? Nobody's really trying to say Bilal's name, so I think Shavkat can get that fight if he beat Jeff Neal, and I think that they're gonna reschedule that fight. So if he beats Jeff Neal in that match, he can definitely set himself up with a top-rated fighter, a Colby, something along those lines, and I think Shavkat is a sleeper pick to get that belt.
This is a little shaky. I'm a little shaky, but still confident on this one. I'm gonna go with Hamza Chimaev. I still believe he's the best fighter right now in 170. But it all just kind of depends on if he makes that weight. You see with the
Yeah.
Nate Diaz fight, I really didn't like that whole situation with the Nate Diaz fight. He's kind of
Can't be missing weight.
can't be missing weight, especially by that much.
And everybody's in middleweights calling him out, so it looks like people are trying to get him to go up to middleweight. I mean, I would have said Hamzat, but I just don't see him. Even if he does get the belt at some point this year, I feel like he's gonna immediately go up. He sees Alexander Pereira. He sees Alex Pereira up there. He sees Israel. Those are two guys on the top of the division, and he feels like he could bully those guys. And I think everybody would say that he would be a huge favorite against the middleweight champ. So of course he's gonna want to go up and weight. And I think that even if he does capture the welterweight belt, he definitely would just try to go up and get that middleweight title. So the only reason I picked Shavkat over Hamza is just because I don't think Shavkat is going to stay in the welterweight division for long. I think that he is arguably the best fighter at this division right now. But again, like you said, the missing the weight. How long are they gonna let him keep on doing this? If he does it again, he has to go up. There's no question about
And
that.
yeah, and just another thing is he's still the best 170 fighter. It just I don't know if his body's ever gonna make that weight again.
Yeah, it could have been the COVID as well. We know that he had COVID, and that's when all these weight cutting problems happen. So we don't know what the side effects of COVID are. He seems like he really still wants to fight at 170, but he's kind of all over the place. He's calling out middleweights, talking trash to even talking about light heavyweights. So we don't really know. Hamzat's a really big mystery. So that's why I just couldn't trust him to be champ by the end of the year.
Yeah, and I just still think he's better than guys like Leon Edwards, Usman. It just really depends on if his mindset's there, if he really wants to make this weight, if he really wants to be a champion. And that's what it kind of seems like, actually, because recently he said he's putting all his eggs into 170-pound division. He said he wants to be a champ
If
there.
he focuses on that, I think he could do it. He could.
But
do it,
yeah,
for sure.
that's my pick. Hamza Chimaev champ by the end of the year.
All right, let's go on to the middleweight division. Now we have Alex Pereira as the current champ, but I think that Israel Adesanya will go up there and get his belt back in the rematch. I think that it's going to be a long layover right now. I don't think that they have a fight coming up anytime soon, so we're looking at possibly maybe summertime. That would give Israel enough time to where he can review his style, review that fight. I think that Eugene is a good coach. They're going to make adjustments, and I think that Israel is going to take advantage of some of the holes in Alex Pereira's game. Again, he's still new to MMA, and that we've seen it. Israel was able to kind of take advantage of him on the wrestling. In rounds 3, Israel, I think, controlled it for most of that round, and then I think that for most of that fight, he was winning it, and it was going his way. I think that the biggest mistake he made was not checking those leg kicks. I think he let Alex land too many of those hard leg kicks, and that's something that he should be worried about next time in this fight. So yeah, I think Israel will come back better, and I think he'll take that belt.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you here. I think Alex Pereira is actually gonna
He's gonna
defend
reclaim the belt.
defend his belt and beat Israel faster actually in the rematch. I think it's just one of those things where he got his number. It's like Max versus Volkanovski where there's a level difference. I think Alex Pereira's power it's just gonna be too much for Israel Adesanya. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I could see that as well. I think Alex Pereira showed that he's on Israel's level and that he is possibly better than Israel. I think that fight was so close that it's like it could have gone either way because he was hurt in that first round. So we can't act like Pereira doesn't make mistakes. Israel just has to capitalize on these mistakes a lot faster. I think he was a little slow to the punch. You can't sit back with a guy like this. You're gonna have to fight him. I think Israel was a little bit too passive and allowed Alex Pereira to land good body kicks, good leg kicks that slowed him down. And then eventually, I think that's what got him to finish. Now, I think someone that people are sleeping on is Robert Whitaker. What about him? Do you think that he might possibly get that belt?
Robert Whitaker, definitely. He's still a big threat, especially to Pereira, since he has kind of an all-balanced style. He's
You think
good
he could
on the.
beat Pereira
I'm still gonna say lean towards Alex Pereira on this. I think Rob was getting caught a lot by Israel, but if you think
with
about
that length, right?
yeah, with that length, I just think the height and like reach is gonna be just a big problem for Rob. But this time, you got something way worse in the equation. It's Alex Pereira's scary knockout power, especially that left hook.
And we remember in the first fight, Rob Whitaker got KO'd by Israel's hook.
And Rob's chin, it's not the best. Like I think Israel dropped him in both fights. I mean, so
Yeah,
it
he
kind
did
of
drop
shows
him in
you.
both fights.
Just imagine a bomb, one of the left
From
hooks
Pereira.
landed. Yeah, I
Yeah,
could
that
just see
is
him.
true.
put
I
him-
think, but I think Pereira. I think if he fights Pereira, he's gonna opt to wrestle more because he's seen that he had success with Israel in the second fight. He took his back. I think that Israel might be slightly better at defense than Pereira is, just because he's trying to learn at such a fast time, and someone like Rob's been doing this forever. So I think Rob has a good chance. I would still say that Pereira's power is going to catch him eventually, and that's the thing about him is he has that Nagano style option.
just his
where he can-
equalizer, just his
yeah,
power.
equalizes any type of skill because he has that power. So yeah, Pereira's gonna definitely be tough to beat. I think right now middleweight is like arguably the worst men's division. There's not a lot of prospects coming out the works. We only have really it's very top heavy with Pereira, Israel, and then Rob. Other than that, we don't really have many good contenders. We have Dreykus coming up, but we see holes in his game. There's going to be a lot of problems. No one sees champ level at him. Roman Dolidze as well. He has holes in his striking. And I just think that it's really going to be just between those top three guys other than anybody else for that division. All right, let's go ahead and go on to light heavyweight. So my championship prediction for light heavyweight, I'm going to go with Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill. I think Jamal Hill right now is in a really good spot because he is fighting H. Glover, who doesn't really know his style. I think Jamal Hill is going to take advantage of that and try to pressure him on early and try to get a first-round KO over Glover. Now, if he beats Glover, I'm looking at the rest of the landscape of the division. I'm seeing guys like Anthony Smith as being a next challenge for him, or even a guy like Nikita Krylov. We have Magomed, who's in the background, but Magomed is coming off injury, and most likely the UFC might run it back with him and Jan Blachowicz. Then we have Yuri Prohaska, who's out for a year. So the main guys that has a chance against Jamal Hill is kind of out of commission. We have Rakic as well, but Rakic is going to have to get a win, and he's coming off an ACL surgery, so it's going to be some time before he gets back in the octagon. I think it's just a really good spot for Jamal Hill to take advantage of this weakened light heavyweight division. There's not a lot going on. There's not a lot of opportunities for anybody else other than him and Anthony Smith possibly. So I'm going to go with Jamal Hill.
Yeah, my pick is going to be Magomed Ankalaev. I think Ankalaev was just, especially against Jan Blachowicz. I know the leg kicks, that fight was kind of close, but I feel like he got robbed that fight. I thought it went Ankalaev, especially the last round. I even scored that last round 10-8 because just how dominant it was. I don't even think Jan only threw like a couple punches. He just got his face smashed on the floor. Even he thought he lost. But
I mean, yeah, but if you did see that fight, Magomed, I think it kind of showed he's not as scary as they were marketing him up to be. Like they were trying to say this guy's the boogeyman division. They thought that he would be like the next dominant champ, and it's like I could just see a lot of holes in his game. That striking there, Jan Blachowicz was getting some good strikes on him, and those leg kicks are just chewing him up really bad. So it's like his wrestling is somewhat good, but at the same time, it wasn't like the best wrestling performance I've seen. So I don't know. I just don't have I have a lot of mysteries about Ankalaev. He's gonna have to rematch Jan Blachowicz, and again that fight is so close. I could see Jan Blachowicz possibly winning that. So it's just up in the air for him right now. But I can see what you're saying. Magomed definitely has a chance if he does come back and he comes back sharp. He has a chance of beating someone like Jamal Hill.
Yeah, and just for that fight, like with I Jamal Hill and Glover, I just think Glover is just a bad matchup. One another bad matchup for Jamal Hill. I just think the wrestling is gonna be too much for him, especially since Santos was getting takedowns and he really wasn't even known for those.
Yeah.
And especially Glover's wrestling, you see him give a big guy like Yuri a lot of problems. He almost even submitted Yuri on the floor. I just think it'll be a repeat like that, but with Glover's age also, you gotta
Yeah,
keep
you
that.
got to think about this. He's 42 years old. He's been chinned, knocked down in almost all of his fights, and that's gonna catch up to you. Someone like Jamal Hill, he has knockout power. He's on a finish streak. He's been finishing his last couple of opponents. He's shown that he has one punch knockout power, dropping Johnny Walker so bad. And I just think that someone like Glover, if he gets hurt by Jamal Hill, he's not getting back up. I think Jamal Hill can finish that fight. And I think Jamal Hill's ground game is going to be underrated. I don't think people notice, but Jamal Hill always talks about his jiu-jitsu. Even the Paul Craig match, I know he got his arm snapped, but he was bragging about his jiu-jitsu up until that point. So I think he seriously does have a reason to say why he has it on the floor, and he's going to be able to show that against Glover.
Yeah, and just another reason why I'm even picking Ankalaev. I think he's the best well-rounded fighter right now in light heavyweight.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just he really is just the best striker. And like you can make a case even the best striker like rounds 3, 4, and 5. He was kicking it up even with the messed up leg. I think if his leg never really got compromised, we really would have seen his striking showcase on like even against Santos. He was piecing up Santos pretty bad. He like dominated him. I think it was 50-45. Even though he got knocked down, he still showed a great chin. I just think he's the best fighter in this division right now, up until Yuri comes back, and that'll be just a good matchup.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough. All right, let's go with the last division here, and the last pick we have for champ. We're gonna go with John Jones for the heavyweight champ. I think John Jones is the most well-rounded fighter, the greatest of all time, and I think that someone like Ngannou, who's coming off an ACL surgery, whose striking is, we know he has the one punch power. He can knock out anybody. He has that equalizer, but at the same time, it's like it's a skill difference between him and John Jones. I think John Jones is able to wrestle a lot better wrestler than anybody that Ngannou has faced. Stipe was able to take him down. And I know he's been making improvements, but he did take a step back because of that ACL surgery. So I think John Jones is gonna be able to neutralize that power by taking him down. I think when John Jones takes you down, Ngannou, you're just gonna eat a lot of elbows, eat a lot of damage, and eventually, I think Ngannou might get finished by Jones. I think Jones is gonna be a lot stronger than he was at 205, so he's gonna be able to handle the sheer strength and heaviness of Francis Ngannou. I think John is gonna be champ.
Yeah, my pick here actually is going to be Cyril Gane. For the reason being, he's just going to be. I think he looked really good the Tai Tuivasa fight, and I think whoever wins between John and Ngannou, I think he beats Ngannou in the rematch. Just because, if you look at Ngannou right now, he's at. You think about he's the most beatable state right now.
Yeah,
he's older,
ACL,
and
he's slowing down. Yeah,
same thing. You could say the same thing with John. He's the most beatable he is right now. He's going to a whole new weight class. He
been off for 3 years.
Yeah, been off for 3 years. I don't know if he can even take those same shots anymore. We see a lot of guys with ring rust, and especially John. It's a big question mark. But I think Cyril Gane is younger, faster. I think he's just a smarter fighter, and I think he'll just come back.
Do you think that Ngannou only beat Gane just because of the surprise of the takedowns? He wasn't seeing it coming. You think if he knows that Ngannou might be able to wrestle, that he's going to be more aware, and that's going to help him out?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And just if you rewatch that fight, you can see Gane was just picking. He was picking apart Ngannou. Ngannou looked. I know you could say Ngannou's legs look slow, but I just think Cyril Gane was just way more faster. He sees the overhand rights.
Yeah, I think that even if they do rematch, even with Francis Ngannou with the healthy ACL, he's gonna have a hard time hitting Gane.
Yeah,
I think Gane is just like a really hard guy because the thing about it is Ngannou. He has to generate a lot of power with his punches. I know he landed like a nice little straight on Stipe that dropped him, but I feel like Gane is gonna be able to see those big swings coming from a mile away, like just like he saw Ty. I know Ty caught him, but like it was like most of that fight he was dodging all Ty's punches. So Gain is going to be very hard to attack. I think it's hard to get a big swing on him. And yeah, I definitely could see Gain challenging John for that belt after Ngannou because right now at heavyweight, I know it's kind of locked up, but Gain just needs arguably one more win. A guy like Pavlovich, a guy like Blades, something along those lines could get him that title shot that he wants. So yeah, I would say that it's really between Jones, Gain, and Ngannou to see who's going to have that belt. I just think that Ngannou is going to leave the sport after this fight. I don't know. I don't trust his motivation for fighting anymore. I think he's just trying to get that one big fight with Tyson Fury and, right off to the sunset like that. I think Jones is coming in with something to prove. I think he wants to prove to people that he is the GOAT and just dominate Ngannou and like put the steroids and all that stuff in the past. And just, I think a lot of people are going to appreciate him when they see him in the octagon.
Yeah, and this division is it's very deadlocked right now. Like nothing really hasn't been going on in this division. Like you look at last year, the champ only defended his belt one time. He's been gone for 1 year.
Yep.
It's like these heavyweights only kind of fight 1 year. You see,
Stipe himself also only fought 1 year as well. So and it was on, and honestly, it was getting tied up between Stipe and DC for the past couple of years. So heavyweights has been having a hard time getting a consistent champ, and Ngannou with this injury only made it worse. So yeah, it's definitely going to be hard for somebody to get that belt in heavyweight. I think John is definitely going to be the next shot. So hopefully we can see that fight early 2023. All right. And I think that's it. I think that's our champ predictions for 2023. Let us know what you guys think. If you guys disagree, please let us know in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe if you guys want to see more content like that. And that's it.
Yeah, and also let us know what your 2023 champ predictions are.
Yeah, leave your picks in the comments. All right, that's it.